Hello, and ooh, there's news about Battlefield 6's Portal. There was some information that was made accessible, let's just say, and of course I wanted to share it with you guys before the game comes out on 10th of October and everyone has access. Portal, a super important thing for Battlefield 6, I think, because there will be a lot of community-driven content, or let's say community-created content, whatever you want to call it. It's a dope thing for sure. I already thought that back in Battlefield 2042, that Portal was just a super idea. Unfortunately, it was heavily misused for XP farm servers. Maybe that will change now. More on that later in this video. We'll talk about the tool sets that are available, how to use them, how to find the experiences in the server browser. Yeah, in Portal there will be a server browser, and this is actually first-hand, so no leaks or anything. This is the real shit. By the way, if you decide to buy Battlefield 6 or something else on EA.com or in the EA app, use my creator code. It's LUC001. I get a little bit of kickback. I'd be happy about that. You'd be supporting what I do a bit. That would be nice, thank you. But now back to Portal. Of course, everything is much bigger and much better than it was before in the previous version. That's obvious. We'll have to find out if that's actually the case on the 10th of October, but I'm telling you, it all sounds pretty good already. The foundation is the Portal Builder tool. We basically already know this from the previous iteration. It's web-based. Anyone who played Battlefield 2042 and was somewhat interesting surely took a look at it. It's essentially a series of switches and sliders that you can turn off and on. For example, you can set a headshot multiplier or also the movement speed, or if maybe only assault rifles can be used on a server. You can set the map rotation, how many points each team has, and so on. I would call that the basics. In 2042, you could also set what kind of universe you were in, like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 1942 or 2042 and so on. You could also mix it up a bit, and that way you could essentially create the presets for the server, like how many players can be on it, what kind of mode, and so forth. There are supposed to be over 100 options you can set with sliders and on and off switches. Really interesting stuff. If anyone wants to get an idea of how this all works beforehand and has never been in it, feel free to check out 2042. It's still online, of course. Now we come to the new thing, which I think will make the new Portal so much more powerful than the old Portal. What do I mean? I think it will definitely. We've already seen glimpses in the trailers, and that's the so-called Spatial editing tool. Anyone who's ever been interested in map design or something like that has probably seen something like this in some form. There we'll actually be able to take existing Battlefield 6 maps, very important, so you can't build new maps. The whole thing is built up on the existing Battlefield 6 maps. So you have a basis to start with. And then you can go nuts and move assets, add new ones, change their size, and so on. So you can actually work as a map designer, more or less. As I said, you cannot build new ones, but you can change the existing ones drastically and create completely new experiences. So what you can do there really looks insane. There are also a few examples that were mentioned, such as Top of the World, a system known from a game or two. You have to, as a team, reach the highest point of the map. It probably also works solo, which you can set maybe in the normal web editor. Right, you have to reach the highest point of the map, so you climb up, 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 up. But you can also shoot the other teams who are naturally trying to achieve the same thing. Sounds fun to try it out in any case. And you can build stuff like that yourself with this spatial editing tool. Another thing was, for example, vehicle race. You can define circles that you then have to fly through with a plane, for example, and that way you can fly a route. Super good for, let's say, accompanying and also building tutorials for flying. That's a super way to learn how to maneuver planes and helicopters, for example. What came up frequently in the internet, for example, is a test range for vehicles too, like the one in Battlefield 4. Many players would like something like that to just try out how the vehicles work, to test things, etc. Now you can build it yourself in Portal in the end. So you can already tell this is going to be a really powerful tool. I'm really excited to see what people can create with it. I mean, even in the previous Portal, crazy stuff was built. This can only get crazier now. But those are just 2 tools. There's another one, and that's the rules editor. This one actually existed before too, but in the old Portal it was always too high level for me. But you can do things like change the entire UI, you can even create custom buttons and texts that pop up, can influence the behavior of the AI bots. For example, a horde mode or a zombie mode is possible this way. You can determine what weapons the bots use, for example, whether they drop in with a parachute, etc. So you can link and set up a lot of things in this rules editor. I have to be honest, I have no idea how it works, but here too there will certainly be a YouTube tutorial or 2 for those who are interested. How far can it go? Unfortunately, there's no footage of this, but they also managed to build a top-down 2D shooter out of Battlefield with this. Maybe some of the somewhat older gamers will know these types of games. I find it super interesting what all can be built, so really sick. Especially in combination with these 3 tools, some seriously crazy things are definitely possible. I wish I had more time. If you like this kind of content and don't want to miss out anymore, I'm just dropping this info here because it fits now. Leave a sub, leave a like, recommend me. Feel free to comment if you're into this kind of things and are hyped to dig into it. It all helps the algo to suggest my videos, and then maybe I'll have some more time in the future eventually, if you know what I mean. Speaking of tutorials, there will also be dedicated tutorials from DICE or EA, where basics are explained, how things work, but I'm sure that at most an hour after the game's release, the first tutorials about these things will be public on YouTube. So by the end of the year, there will surely be tons of tutorials on how to use Portal and how to create things. How do we find experiences that others have created, or maybe some that are featured? Firstly, there's a spot in the main menu where you can directly click on such things. Something that is successful, cool, or heavily played will be featured there. But there will also be a dedicated Portal server browser, an actual server browser where you can search for things. There's a tagging system. For example, you can certainly enter zombie and you'll find some horde mode, zombie mode servers, top of the world, for example. Then you can search for those climbing games, things like that. That will definitely be available for Portal. It's a shame that it's not coming to the main game, but that's a different topic. But now comes the really cool thing, in my opinion. For every purchased Battlefield 6, so if you have an active account with an active Battlefield 6 game, you can host 1 persistent server. Before, if the creator left the server was basically dead, everyone was kicked. That will no longer be the case, at least with 1 you create. You can certainly choose which one that will be in case you've created multiple experiences. And it will stay online even if you're not there. So communities can form around it again, which is what made earlier Battlefield titles so great. Exactly the community thing and actually rented servers and so on. So we could also revive the community server sessions like I did for a while in 2042. Maybe we'll set up a community server on Saturdays and everyone can play together with some fun stuff. Maybe, we'll see. Another related topic is, of course, XP farming and how progression is structured on these servers in the first place. That was simply a problem, or rather, the XP farm servers in 2042 were widespread for quickly leveling weapons, etc. That seems to be solved a bit different now. So it was said that the closer the experience you build is to the original Battlefield game system, the more XP you can earn with actions, etc. But the further the experience moves away from it, the more likely it is that you will only accumulate experience over time. This is certainly a counter thought to XP farm servers from 2042. This means you can no longer set like a hardcore server with 400 bots run at you and wipe them out within a minute, getting a lot of XP. If that's the case, that the server is conceived that way, your XP farm server, you will only get XP over time and no longer per kill. That's how it will likely be regulated to maybe keep the XP farm server somewhat in check. Furthermore, after launch, they are of course waiting for feedback from you, from us, from the community to improve things. They supposedly also have more tools up their sleeve that will be released in patches eventually and added. Right now, they first want Portal as it is and as it's supposed to launch to run perfectly, and then things will continue to improve. That's the promise. We'll see if that's actually the case, but I'm quite optimistic that Portal will be dope as it is. So, it's promising in any case. Let's see what the community makes of it, because, as I said, this is a tool for the community to build things for the community. Ha! Full circle. I hope you liked the video, a little insight into Portal. Are you hyped? Are you generally up for Battlefield 6? Then definitely put a heart in the comments. Or otherwise, feel free to leave a sub, leave a comment about what you're thinking right now, maybe about cats or something, anything. Write it in the comments. Leave a like, leave a sub. We'll see each other in the next video. Kisses. See you next time. Bye.